Hello, hello. Hi. Is anybody out there? Hey, it's Chris. How are you? I'm your friend. I'm here to talk football with Jim McCormick. We're here for a live stream, but of course, many folks are watching the stream afterwards, and we love you too. Although you should come hang out with us 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday evening. Jim and I are here previewing the week. It's brought to you by DraftKings, and we'll talk a little more about them in a second. I want to say hello to my friend. Hi, Jim.
Hi, how are you? It is Wednesday, and it's time to talk about football. It's something I'm really good at. Like, we shouldn't mention my record, but I'm really good at this. So, yeah.
I mean, we are going to mention your record. I don't think I have the exact number. I believe it's 4 and 1,000 picking against the spread so far.
But those 4 were so. It's about the quality and not the quantity.
Well, the thing is, Jim, that I'm barely one game over 500 picking against the spread this year. So I'm over 500 and ahead of you, which I don't think has ever happened. You are better at this than I am, but I'm going to bask in the glory momentarily. So we can live streamers, if you're here live, we can see you. I can see you typing. So I'll say hi to you. Who do I see at this point? I see Jaquan is here. Johan Nadas here. Luis, what's going on? And he says hello to the _ Baron, by the way. So clearly a fan of you. There's John, there's Steven, there's Dan, who was just listening to the podcast like 20 minutes ago and now seeing me live is just freaky, I think. Bill and Andrew, hi, thank you for joining. And we hope to give you a fun show here. Our goal is to preview the week. We're going to talk about how we think the football might go, what we've seen so far, thinking, maybe a little less fantasy, a little more just NFL, and then eventually some point we'll make a pick against the spread. Jim, we're going to start with the Thursday night game. It's the Cowboys visiting the Giants. I'm going to say this on the podcast tomorrow. The Cowboys absolutely destroyed the Giants twice last year, and that colors my perception of this matchup. It probably shouldn't, though. Dallas isn't playing very well.
They aren't, and there's a little bit, like, maybe if they had a kicker that one game, the Giants would be in a different spot in terms of like how we're thinking about them because they've played a couple competent games. I guess maybe it looks better with how Washington played. I'm going to go so far tangentially off, but I just want to say the Giants have actually played a little bit better than maybe I expected coming in. And obviously the Cowboys have played much worse, even for my Schadenfreude-laden soul who wants to see Dallas do poorly. I did not expect them to play to this level. Not only the Saints game felt like an outlier, especially, but last week was really disturbing because it was like a game where it felt just the stakes were higher, right? Like the Ravens needed to win that game. I'm a little worried about this Dallas team. I shouldn't be because I want them to lose, but I'm worried
so
about
this. Yeah. Tell me this. Very clearly, the thing that seeped into the consciousness of your, somewhat plugged in football fan is that the Cowboy run defense is bad. And statistically, it has been bad. You're paying attention to this stuff. Who's bad there? Is it Kendricks? Is he the problem?
Kendricks, yeah. Kendricks is an issue. He was an issue for Minnesota, so I don't see why he's not an
and
issue.
The Chargers
and between, we're skipping his departure to the Chargers last year, and Chargers have been rotating linebackers for like 20 years. But I really think the issue is the fact that like they did this. I forget the kid's name. The tackle they drafted starts with an M. The tackle they drafted from Texas last year or 2 years ago, in the early second round to try to like. Yep. People were saying he was kind of this bootleg Jalen Carter, meaning this disruptor, this interior wrecker. It was the same draft as Kalijah Kancey too. So there was this run on these these undersized wreckers. He's not that. So what I mean
Mazi Smith.
Yeah, Mazi Smith, exactly. They're paying the price, I think, for just not having size up the middle. And these days, I suppose, not supposedly, but we do have a shift going on in the league, right? The 2 high safety, there's more running, there's a little more balance in the league, and it's affecting a team. They don't seem, shocker, Dallas doesn't seem prepared for the shift that happens in the league. So
that's such a good way of putting it. I agree. I like I said, a big rant on the show Wednesday morning on the podcast about the smart teams seem to have understood that things were shifting a little away from the pass, a little more towards the run because of defensive formations, and the Cowboys didn't get size up front and didn't get a running back. So it feels like this trend just completely missed them. And yet they're going to New York and they're going to be 6-point favorites. It feels like the market thinks of the last two games from last year where Dallas just eviscerated them, no question about it. That's a for how poorly Dallas has played, that is a really big road favorite.
It is, yeah. I'm trying to imagine what it would be like had they played to expectation, right? Like this would be 7.5, maybe, maybe. But again, we're here. This is why Chris in the preseason always talks about like strength of schedule is fairly ridiculous, particularly because this is probably 2 or 3 points different than what I've expected a month ago. That said, Malik Neighbors is like if Odell Beckham never saw the internet. Like he's just like, I don't know. He kind of saw the internet because he's cool. That doesn't make sense. But like, he's really good at football and he doesn't seem distracted by everything. That said, Dallas badly needs this. Badly. And triple reversal, Giants. I'm taking the Giants. And the reason I'm taking the Giants, is because of that lack of adaptation. For how much better the Dallas is as a team, I really do think their roster is way better than New York. I think Mike McCarthy's going to run into a wall here, and I think this is a game that's going to go closer than they would like. It's going to be under 6, obviously. Go Giants.
Yeah. Wow, an Eagles fan saying go Giant. I'm also on. I'm gonna take the points. I don't know if the Cowboys win. I see Wes in the chat said Dallas at 0-4 would be great. Unfortunately, they're 1-2. Unfortunately for Wes's point of view, they did beat the Browns
Wes
in
is
week
a dreamer.
1.
I get it, Wes.
But Wes is a dreamer. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Sunday games. I've got a really, really hot team, a really, really like people are into them, and then a team that people are just over. And you can tell me which is which between the Bengals and the Panthers, because it's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Bengals are 0-3. They started badly last year. That, I guess, was supposed to be Joe Burrow injury related, calf related. As far as I know, his calves and all the rest of his livestock are fine. And instead, they can't stop anybody. That was a pretty embarrassing defensive effort against the Commanders on Monday night. You know, we can talk all we want about Andy Dalton, and I'm going to talk about him actually a lot on Thursday's podcast. What I actually wanted to ask you about, Jim, is Lou Anarumo. Am I saying that name right?
Yeah.
I mean, I paid real close attention to week 1 when they had a chance to get the ball back from the Patriots and they sat way back. And then I saw this one where it's a 3rd and long and stop them and you're going to win this game. And they sit an unbelievable amount far back. Like, it's fine to say cover 2 is the order of the day, but the Bengals really feel like they are clueless on defense right now.
They do. They feel like Greg with 2 G's Williams, right? Like if you remember the old crazy one high safety stuff, or it was like a punt return. It's ridiculous. I don't know who they're playing. Again, we just talked about maybe a lack of adaptation or a lack of like. I hate to say it happened with Zimmer before. Coincidentally, Cincinnati, but these guys who kind of they have this system, Fangio in Philadelphia. Meaning they have this system that earns a reputation. The league adapts, and then we still talk about it, even though like the system has passed us. I wonder if that's happening with Cincinnati. Particularly here, the real issue. We'll talk about this. They stopped their cheap. They didn't pay Jesse Bates, who's one of the best players in the league, regardless of position. Like he is the safety to pay for. Which, look, most teams mess that up. I get it, but you particularly mess it up. So I think he plays a system. You talked about sitting back. It helped when you had a center fielder who could make up all the ground. They don't have that anymore. Again, though, my question is this. So we haven't mentioned the line yet. It's Cincinnati -4. My question is you talked about the trends. Is this too much respect for Carolina? Because what have they really done? Like, my only question is Dalton going to get his time capsule out from Cincinnati from like 2015 and be awesome?
Well, here's the thing. He wasn't awesome in 2015. And also the thing is that wait, who said this in the Bill says it's a real cat fight, but John really wants me to say it. Red Rifle, revenge game. I got it from Max 2. Yep. Bill said it. Yeah, we got it all over. So people just know the voice. That's what they want to hear. Yeah, I actually had this as a push. I'm gonna chicken out and not make a pick. It's a 4-point road favorite for a defense I just don't believe in, but it probably is too much respect for Andy Dalton. And I talked on the podcast somewhat about a dead cat bounce, and like that's what Andy Dalton gave you against the Raiders. It's very easy to imagine just everybody going, "Oh, that's what it's like when things are competent," and then you go back to stinking again. Do you have a pick between?
That's a great comparison. It's like that first week when a special teams coach gets a big win, and you're like, "This guy might have it," and then the next week it's over. But yeah, I'm actually going to give the points. I know I talked about that, but like I just think as bad as as the defense is playing, you have to score points, and I think the Bengals woke up a little bit. So yeah.
All right. We'll get back to the rest of the games, previewing and talking about most of them in a second. Let's thank DraftKings for all of you watching live and for all of you who are watching in arrears. We would love for you to consider opening a DraftKings account. If you do, please sign up using the code HarrisTube, all one word. That gives us a little bit of credit. It lets DraftKings know that sponsoring this show works. It does help us out. You'd be doing us a favor. Plus, if you make one $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets, and you will be able to use those right away on things like touchdown prop bets. I mentioned on the show, Jim, on the podcast, that Jamar Chase to score multiple touchdowns on Monday night was a nice looking wager to me, and I hope I made some people some money. That would be fantastic.
I played it. Thank you.
Boom. So don't listen to me for anything else except for that one. But do listen to us. Like, please, bet $10. Don't bet a lot. Please don't bet the mortgage. Don't get carried away. But it is fun to have, if you're going to be watching a game anyway, have a little something riding on the outcome. It does help us if you sign up using the code HarrisTube. And we do appreciate DraftKings so much for continuing to sponsor us. Let's see what we have for comments before we get back into it. Let's see. We said, Caleb says, what do you think that the line would be if Bryce Young was still starting in that Panthers-Bengals game? What do you think?
It's a good question. It'd be a solid 7. It'd be like sitting right at 7, like right at the full touchdown. It wouldn't be under a touchdown. So yeah.
No, I think it would be over a touchdown.
Yeah,
it could be more, but the Bengals would look bad and are winless for sure. So yeah, that's interesting. Caleb says, hey, I've been in the Harris DFS contest every week on DraftKings. No cash yet, but we persevere. Caleb, right there with you, buddy. If I can't invest in both Tua and Tyreek in the same DFS lineup, I don't win. That's how I had a very good winning season last year, is that eventually I just said, okay, every week I'm allowed. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. And so, yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, let's keep going. Let's give you last week's winner of the posting of a hit. Last week's winner, somebody who posted in the chat, their favorite bet of the week. It was Kevin Kernick, and I hope Kevin's here. Kevin's very active in the chat, and Kevin selected those Carolina Panthers over the Vegas Raiders, as did I. So Kevin and I were exactly on the same page. Jim, who'd you have in that game?
Deontay Johnson. Just I know that guy. He's nice. He's still the CAE at the end. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he did not have that, but congratulations to Kevin. And we will ask you that pick your spread, the one that you like that we talk about and mention in the chat or in the comments, and we'll call out somebody during next week's show. And I think it's probably far enough along right now that we can do a like spike. Everybody want to do a like spike? How many people we have in here? We have 77 people. I mean, we could have more. Don't get me wrong, we could have more, but 77 is a nice number. So if all 77 people, when I say 3, 2, 1, would hit like, I bet you more people will join us. I bet you we'll get a bigger group. So you ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hit the like button. Oh, I see a lot of likes. You guys are great. You guys are the best. Okay, awesome. We're going to have more people in here momentarily. Went down to 76, by the way. All right. So let's talk Jags Texans. The Jags embarrassed themselves in a national way on Monday night against Buffalo, and Houston embarrassed themselves in a more regional way in Minnesota. My question for you is really about Trevor Lawrence, because we're 4 years in here, dude. These performances aren't supposed to happen. I know it was a tough ask. I know that line's beaten up, but you saw that interception. That's just standing there and throwing the ball 10 feet over a guy's head. How concerned are you in general about Trevor Lawrence?
Very concerned. I mean, Anthony Richardson gets the excuse that he's played like 3/4 of football in his whole life, and he's like 12. Like Trevor Lawrence is out here. He was starting in the national championship game when he was 12. So what's going on here? Like, so his whole career has been like this little episodic thing where he's got this stretch, and can we harness this stretch? And he finished this season strong. At some point, it's got to come down to him too, right? Like it's all these parts and they change, but the same theme is this weird. He's hot or cold, and I didn't think that that's who he was. I thought he was higher floor as a player. I didn't think it would be this much fluctuation. And Doug is in trouble. This team's in trouble.
Yeah, the team's in trouble, and like this is kind of Bortles.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Same city, but it's kind of Bortles. Like Bortles was a high draft pick, not number one, but like, of course could get hot. Of course had ability, but like, you know, I'm like Bortles level concern. Are you all in the chat Bortles? Are you at Bortles level alert?
He's like French poodle Bortles. Yeah, it's getting bad. Yeah.
It's not good. Saluki Bortles.
It's Saluki Bortles. Yeah, it's Saluki.
He is a Saluki Bortles. Yeah. So, I mean, Houston didn't play well either. And this line is Houston favored by 6.5 at home. I'll just jump in.
Very loud line. Very loud. Yeah.
Well, first of all of the 6.5s you this year you've wanted to be on the underdogs because they're all the ones they could beat them by at least a touchdown. Sure. This look ahead line was like 3 before the games last week, and I get it. Jacksonville deserves to be punished. Does Houston not deserve to be punished?
And have they yet played a real even 2 quarters that are great? Like I've watched every game they've played. They've yet to be. Yeah, it's really tough for me. So I'm gonna have you pick first. Just how it works.
I'm on Jacksonville. I mean, it's disgusting. They're the nobody wants to pick Jacksonville. Obviously, you just saw them vomit on themselves on national television. But that's when you bet. And frankly, there's pretty great record of teams getting blown out and then, be covering the next week because people exaggerate how bad they are.
Absolutely. There is recency bias even with these algorithms. The market behaves. I'm taking the points as well, but not by any great measure. I had it at 6. It just feels like this is a have to do it game, and that's a terrible reason to do it. But I just think division wise, it just seems closer. And like you said, I can't find the reason that Houston deserves this. So
yeah, I don't think I'm going to pick a few games as we go through here, just where we're just going to make picks. We don't need to do a lot of it. I mean, Saints Falcons they hate each other, and there's going to be 8 fights, and in the end, it's probably going to be pretty close. If I were to tell you that this is in Atlanta, and Atlanta is favored by 2.5, what would you do point spread wise?
I just call Jameis Winston. Just please
for
somehow.
Some crap
really, yeah. My only commentary on this is that Kirk Cousins wants to be like Derek Carr. Like he wants to be cool and have the cool sleeves and have his triceps out. And then Derek Carr wants to be like Kirk Cousins. He wants to like overcook liver on his grill. It's just funny how they want to be like each other. It's like Face Off, but for the NFC South mercenaries. All that said, my analysis led me to believe that the Saints are better than the Falcons. So I'm taking the points.
I think I'm going to go Falcons just because this series makes no sense. But
it doesn't.
I don't feel good about it. I'm changing my pick as we speak, but minus 2.5 Falcons. I do want to talk to you about Broncos Jets because we were loud wrong on the Jets last week. We were loud wrong on Aaron Rodgers. And for people who didn't get to see Aaron Rodgers the first 2 weeks, although, if you got to see him the third week, you probably saw him the first week. It was national TV both times. But in the intervening week, he wasn't all that good against Tennessee. And he, frankly, just hadn't looked good. Boy, Jim, he looked good. I'm not going to tell you the Patriots defense is great, but I don't think it sucks. And he made it look like it sucks. And yes, the Jets defense kind of showed up and, they turned into kind of who we thought they were. How impressed were you with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, it's an easy little layup question, but go ahead.
I mean, it was like a highlight reel. It really was. Yeah. It was a Renaissance game that it's hard for me to take out of my head. Like you talk about recency bias. So
Yeah, it was a really, really good performance, and I don't think he can do it again. He'll do it again. They'll win over Denver. But I think the reason they'll win over Denver is because I actually still kind of believe in the Jets defense more than I do in Aaron Rodgers doing that over and over again. There's some Patriot stupidity, sneaky stupidity in that game where, I mean, Belichick's entire thing coaching defense was do your job, stay in your lane. If you have a quarterback who wants to throw on the run, you have to play contained and not go for the sack. And apparently that's no longer a thing with Jod Mayo. I don't know. They're not teaching that anymore because you had these freelancing defensive ends doing stunts and curls and all over the place and letting Rodgers escape. And okay, you weren't sure he still could, but once he did it a couple of times, could we stop it? And they just kept doing it. They kept letting him escape. And he was awesome. I don't think Denver will allow that, at least.
I agree with that. I also just think I don't know how much he had, like how much to buy into the ability to replicate that performance, right? Like, was that
Rodgers, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Rodgers' performance, particularly on the run, like you said. Yeah, it's also just too many points, regardless. Like, even with all the Bo Nix stuff and all those things, it also, like, whenever it's this big and the over-under is where it is, around 40 or under, it's hard for me. Maybe it's a mental block I have to get over because obviously you can win by a lot in a low-scoring game, but it just feels like this game will be reduced to mistakes, and I'll take the points.
Yeah, I'm going to take them too. I don't feel super strongly about it, but I'm on Denver plus 7.5. The concern, of course, is that Bo Nix isn't good just because of last week, and will get absolutely throttled by a defense that looked awfully resurgent. But
we didn't mention the potential for a revenge game with his backup quarterback. So I just wanted to mention that with the Jets. So.
Yeah. Agreed. Caleb says, is it a coincidence that Bo Nix comes on the scene at the same time as the emergency of all these Botox commercials on our TVs?
I mean, the big question is, did Kevin Costner draft him? Like, and did anybody go? Did anybody go to Bo Nix's birthday party?
Kevin Costner catching Botox strays here on the show.
Look, as a producer Dave knows, like the best GM in the history of the Browns is Kevin Costner in draft day.
Fair point. The Vikings are playing against the Packers, and I don't love, when we're going to talk about a game, I don't love to lead with the point spread. So this is not a point spread question, Jim, but I will say that given the point spread, it sure appears that, unlike last week, Vegas has information that Jordan Love is going to play because they remained an underdog against Tennessee last week, and they are favored against the undefeated Vikings this week. It doesn't strike me that with Malik Willis, they would have been favored in this game.
Was there a look ahead available for this? I'm curious. I mean, maybe I'd just be curious what that was.
The thing is, it wouldn't have been worth much because it wouldn't have been a prediction of whether he was.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah. I just was wondering if there was an idea of like maybe what they think he's worth. But we saw the inverse of it the week before, so I guess I'm all over the place. But the point is, before it was like 8-point swing from Malik Willis to remember that one game with the Colts. So
but then they realized their mistake. Yeah.
And they were like, "This is ridiculous." And you realized the mistake because you bet.
I did.
You're right. My thing is they're going to blitz their face off. The Vikings want to do everything they can. I think the Packers, what's being underrated is how well this defense is playing and the line. I thought that the line was going to be, the offensive line was entering the year in disrepair. They're playing well. I'm going to give the point, and I know we're not talking about we're talking about the game itself. My thing is that this clearly indicates that Love is expected to play, really, because he's already practicing. We have the information we have right now. I'm going on thinking I think this is going to actually go down. I think you're going to get points. I think it's going to go to 2 or maybe 1.5 as we hear about. I'm sorry, 3.5 rather. The more we hear about Jordan Love, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, could be. I think Love playing is baked into this line because the Vikings are good and just beat a really good team at home, and before that beat a really good team at home. I mean, who has the undefeated? Saying this stuff, it makes sense. Which undefeated team has the best wins? It's like not an argument. Anyone in the chat want to argue that it's not the Vikings? They beat the 49ers and they beat the Texans. Of course, maybe those teams turn out not to be that great, but for our perspective now, they look pretty good. And I see that Anthony in the chat wants the voice. And listen, I'm here for the people. Obviously, it's an Aaron Jones revenge game, and that in and of itself tells me take the Vikings plus 2.5. Let's scoot quickly through Steelers Colts because it feels ugly and gross. If you just had to make a pick, your justification would be the Steelers are a 1.5 point road favorite in Indy.
Yeah, they're trying to tempt you into taking this small line with the Steelers because they have the better defense and all those things. And you got me. You hooked me. I'm doing it. Go Steelers.
No double reverse.
that they got me. TJ Watt. I just see a jersey. I see him like flexing. It's already in my head. So
I'm sort of with Anthony in the chat. Steelers are gross. I'm gonna take the points. I don't think the Steelers should be a road favorite
gross.
against.
I mean, I'm betting on Justin. This is the Spider-Man meme game. It truly is. This is the Justin Fields staring at Justin Fields game.
Okay. So. Well, we'll be on the opposite sides of this one. Let's do Rams Bears. It's funny. I've been pretty down on how the Bears have looked offensively, and I've gotten a fair amount of pushback from regular listeners and fans and smart people on Twitter who are like, I mean, you're ranking Caleb Williams 27th for fantasy, and you're ignoring the fact that in the second half against the Colts, he looked great and connected on long plays to Rome Odunze. And I guess I could be, maybe I'm getting carried away because it was the Caleb against Anthony Richardson game and they both were just awful. And maybe I was like, damning Caleb with Richardson's badness or something. But, I'm not trying to tell you that Caleb Williams won't be good eventually. I don't know that. But, boy, I don't think he's good yet. I think he's been just terrible.
Yeah. Yes. He's just like jam band. It's like a jam band. It's like I have to sit here and hear all of this for that one cool riff. You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody dragged me to their like rehearsal. Like, where's the game? It's too much. It's too much playmaking. All of the beautiful, cool highlights, they're on display too often. There's too much back to the crowd. I mean, to the defense. Too much spinning. It's too much. And like. The next time that DeAndre Swift picks the right lane, let me know. So, like,
I know.
Meaning there are some issues. True. The run game is the worst in the league right now, but he's feeding that too. So I'm concerned about this. What's most interesting is that the Rams are the ones that feel confident coming in and feel good coming in offensively, even though they've been in disrepair. So. And
it's so. I mean, they're coming off just the most improbable win. They were dead in that game. Yeah, they were completely dead in that game, but. It does tell you something about coaching, and there's some luck involved. Obviously, some luck involved, and the Niners were very complicit in their own demise in the fourth quarter because they're throwing. It's the Kyle thing. We get a big lead. Let's keep throwing. But yeah, I agree that this is how it shapes up, and I'm gonna do the Jim McCormick double reverse. The line here is Bears minus 2.5 over the Rams, and I had it at 3, so I'm taking the Bears, and I feel weird.
I'm taking the points because Matt Stafford loves Chicago, because he just does. He played for Detroit, and I don't know why. Yeah.
He likes their funky pizza.
That's what it is, yeah.
Adam says Bears is the play here, right? One of us agrees with you, Adam. One of you agrees with us, and one of us agrees with you. Invader Coda says Harris hates rookies. The bias is real. I mean, I'll say, like, for fantasy, when rookies go in the first round, I don't like them. That is true. And I wasn't taking Malik Neighbors in the 4th round, and I wish I had been. But I said on the show that was a lot more palatable to me than Marvin Harrison in the first. But, like, I'm the one who's blowing more smoke on Malik Neighbors' skirt than anybody right now. Like, I love them when they decide they can play. When they can't play, buddy, that's not my thing. So this next game, I don't believe this matchup has ever happened before. It's Eagles Buccaneers. I don't think these franchises have ever played, right?
They haven't. This is new ground. What's unique about this is not only have they not met before, but somehow Todd Bowles has mind control over Jalen Hurts with every meeting. But again, to speak about like familiarity and odd matchups in terms of like recency bias. It's interesting because like the Bucks a week ago, the Bucks just had their first stumble.
Oh yeah.
But prior, it looked like they had their identity set, like who they were, like scrappy, crazy Baker Mayfield, big receivers. Todd Bowles blitzes you in your face. Rashad White sucks. That was their plan. The other plan for the Eagles is just to make as many mistakes as you can, and
that's a good plan.
And hope the clock ends before you make the next mistake. And so it's working. But I'm just confused how this team's a road favorite, and I'm not trying to tip my pick. I'm just confused how the team who's bumbling through the world, they're both
won. What are you crazy? The Eagles won. They're great.
I mean, I don't know what to say.
Tell me the temperature. What's the temperature of the team for the team in the city? Are people like, are they doing the lady on the meme who does this? Or are they doing the lady on the meme who does this?
I'll let you in. So in my classroom, we do a thing sometimes called 2 truths and a lie. And a student will tell, it's an identity. And this one kid says, my dad and I hate Jalen Hurts. And I was like, oh. And then somebody said, well, that's a lie. He goes, no, that's absolutely true. We hate Jalen Hurts. And he's 9 years old. 9 years old. And so obviously his dad is helping him develop his hate for Jalen Hurts. But we're already there at the youth level. And I can say it in his accent. He's like, yeah, I don't like Jalen Hurts. This guy's terrible. My dad doesn't like him either. They're birds. So like they root for the birds, but they're at the point already. We're in the Donovan McNabb phase of Jalen Hurts where he's already vexing. I can see it. I'm still a fan, but yeah, we're in that phase. So that's the litmus test, or that's the tea leaves in Philadelphia are little kids are already being aggressive.
In the chat, Bill says, I'm outside NovaCare Complex holding the Fire Sirianni sign since week 2.
Yeah.
And Caleb says, Jim gets the city temperature from the local children.
I do. But that's in Philadelphia. If you ever want to walk in the street, they'll be like, what are you doing wearing those stupid sneakers? Like, they will check you, okay? Kids in Philadelphia.
What's the problem? It can't all just be interpersonal stuff. I mean, that I've been pretty early on the doubting Jalen bandwagon, and now a lot of people seem to be joining. It's not all just him, though. It's clearly not.
No, it's not. Some of it is just like he can't pass between the hashes, which is
well, that's him. Okay, so tell me something that's not him.
So not him. So meaning in terms of what else is going on, rather.
Yeah, what's wrong?
I think the fact that Nick Sirianni keeps messing with the menu. He doesn't.
Okay, but I mean, I try on the field. I don't think it's a perfect team except for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Okay.
So tell me who's not playing well.
Jalen Hurts. What do you mean?
All right, I can't. That's fine. I can't. What am I supposed to say? Agree with you. I agree with you that Sirianni is a problem. I agree with Anthony that Sirianni is a problem. Okay. I agree that Jalen Hurts is a problem. It's just I see other problems too. But if you don't,
the offensive line has issues right now, but we'll see.
Lane Johnson's probably not going to play in this game. Devontae Smith's probably not going to play in this game. The Buccaneers are getting 2 at home. It sounds like we're both on Tampa.
Yes. I am. All right. This doesn't factor in.
It's good. We're good. Let's move on. I got it. Right. The Patriots 49ers. We're not going to talk about this game because it would hurt my little heart, my very small, very unfeeling heart that doesn't need any more anxiety. But tell me, dear Jim, 49ers are giving 10 points after that game. What are you going to do?
I'm taking the points. It's too reactive. Weird, grindy game. There's a lot of ways that they cover. Jacoby Brissett was built to cover this game. It's his life's goal.
Jacoby Brissett was built to cover the 10-point spread in San Francisco. This is my other push. I didn't actually. I predicted it was going to be 10, so I don't have to pick this one. And I feel pretty darn good not picking it. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray. That's fine too, because suddenly Commanders Cardinals is way more fun. These two potential hands-off offenses now are wrecking the league. Plus they get to play against defenses that probably are not that good. If I were to say that the Eagles could have one of 2 combos, they could have either Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, or they could have Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison. Which tandem would you want for your team?
That's tough. Jaden McDaniels. I just think the better quarterback.
Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
No, I said McDaniels because he's Irish, but Jaden Daniels. Yeah. McLaurin. I added them. I'm sorry. Yes. What about you?
So, I think I agree. I think that Jaden Daniels is through 3 games. Jaden Daniels is giving me vibes that are maybe a little better than the Kyler Murray early career vibes. Sure. But, what's cool about McDaniels is that, the first 2 games were all checkdowns. And then this one, they like to let the reins up just a little bit, and boom, he hits these 2 bomb shots, and like they were great throws. The people telling us that he threw it great deep, they were loving it. They were right. So I think Marvin Harrison's career upside is higher than Terry McLaurin's career upside. But right now, who do I think is a better player? I think Terry McLaurin's a better player. So I guess I agree with you. So tell me, in this game, it's Cardinals 3.5 point favorite at home. Which way are you leaning?
I'm taking the points. I just think this Washington team has some level of competence, and there's too much volatility with Arizona to think that they could hold this. So
I also am taking the points, although I had it at 3, and so the fact that it's 3.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel super strongly about it. Here in Los Angeles, where the 49er fans in SoFi that had to have been 80% of the crowd. Did you get to see any of that with the red jerseys?
I did. I watched that. Yeah. It was pretty impressive.
Unbelievable. Well, the red jerseys are going to be back because now it's the Chargers who draw even worse than the Rams, and they're getting the Chiefs. All love to the Charger organization. I'm sure some people out there want to talk about you, but we're not 2 of those people. The Chiefs are 3-0, and like, I'm not worried about them. They're going to be okay. The referendum for them comes in January, and I think they're probably going to pass that referendum, but they aren't that good right now.
No, you've mentioned this thematically several times about like the whole Patriots thing, that they have this thing, stick around, let you mess up, let you vomit. It's all true. It's like it's to the point where the trope is a trope. Like this is really what they're doing. It's every week they do this. It's like you say it, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, he's just saying that. And then next week it's like they played terribly, game-winning field goal. So it's just how they play right now. Yeah, they stumble into things. I mean, all the routes are going like this is the Kelsey thing, isn't it? We're seeing it. Like we're seeing the Kelsey.
He's just taking.
It's here,
or is he just taking the season off?
Yeah. Or is he just LeBroning it, or whatever you want to call it? I don't know what the word is for that. But, like, yeah, there's something going on here. What's interesting, too, because this just feels like the first major reaction week, I would say, in terms of what I'm seeing. Like, the fact that even though the Chargers have played well up to this point, they've had their first, meaning this is the first week where I think people, like, the market is saying, this is who you really are. Meaning the Chargers are being treated as if the first couple of weeks maybe didn't happen, like the way this line feels to me.
Okay, you're talking about the line. I mean, I'll get to the line.
Yeah, but I mean, or just how it speaks to, in the respect of the market, like that they're being treated as if.
I get the line. I get it, but I want to ask you more about football. Okay. The Rashee Rice thing. Like nothing else is working. Even Kelsey's not working. The run game wasn't very good. What is it about Rashee Rice that is different? Because he's not really running routes down the field that often. I think most of the time we know the ball's going to get there. He's usually out of the slot. I wouldn't think that guy should be that hard to cover. And yet he is making every play.
He is, and it's all this yak, and it's been the intentional design from day one. Like last year, all of his stuff was like this. So whatever they see, they're trying to get him like free releases and go. I hate the Debo word is a dangerous word, but like there's something here where there's an ability to just create afterwards, and it's unique. He is the central offense. He is the offense.
I mean, the Debo, it's so lazy, the Debo comp, but like I'm making it all the time.
Yeah, right.
He's not that big as Debo, but he's a wrecker, man. Like
yeah, he is.
I think I said on the podcast, I wouldn't be surprised through this Pacheco injury if there comes a time if Pacheco's really out for the whole year or just they line him up as a tailback when it starts mattering in December or January when they need it. I won't be shocked because he's that good. He's a wrecker, man. And so some of the answer is I think that would have been my answer too if I had asked myself that question. I didn't even really have that answer in mind, but I think it's about the yak and just the untackleability of that dude. He's freaking. And he
gets skinny.
Monster.
It's strange. He has these ways to get through the crease. So.
Yeah, he's a monster. Max says that it's Andy Reid. I mean, for sure, Andy Reid is. Putting him in the right position. He's the one identified this is the right position, but like, I don't know. I don't think he's the one breaking tackles.
No, he's just being put in a great spot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I want to keep watching it. Cause like, I didn't have enough respect for this was going to keep happening. I thought teams would shut it down. You mentioned that the Chargers are getting a lot of points at home. It's a 7.5 point spread for the Chiefs here in Los Angeles. Not really a home game, but I guess, not really a road game either.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, I suppose, an airplane's involved. So I'll take the points. I'm going to take the points. There's just too many, and I just feel like Kansas City wins, that kind of thing. Like, there's a middle here.
Yeah, I agree. Kansas City wins, but they don't cover. I agree. So I'll take a pick on Browns Raiders. Dave doesn't want to hear us talk about the Browns. His heart hurts. The Browns are visiting Las Vegas, and the Raiders are a 2-point favorite over two teams that did not look very good last week. Who would you take in that matchup?
Yeah, they're both bad. I suppose I'm going to take what I think still is the best unit, which is the Browns defense. I try to say that, but we're not seeing it yet, but I'll take it. I'll take the points.
Me too. I think I'm on the Browns. And I rewatched because I wanted to talk about the Giants for tomorrow's podcast. And so I rewatched that whole game again. And I don't think the Brown defense played that bad. There were a couple scheme things that I thought were kind of rough, and Myles Garrett was limping around a little bit, but I actually am still with you that they're going to be the best unit on the field. Sunday night, very fun. Bills visiting the Ravens, and help me figure out the Bills, because on the one hand, wow, and on the other hand, don't we get carried away about them or someone like this every year when who did they beat? They beat Arizona and didn't cover. They beat Miami when Tua went down, and they beat Jacksonville, who couldn't beat Miami. And in other words, I'm not sure they've played anybody yet, but like they still look awesome. And you're looking for a weakness, and you're like, okay, I can't find one. I'm just gonna not even ask you first about this game because this game is awesome. Do you now number I don't think you numbered the Bills among the potential Super Bowl favorites a month ago. And I don't think I did either. And do you now number them there?
I think they're in the inner circle now. Okay. Most importantly, I think they're finding ways, and we'll see how this gets stretched out by a team like Baltimore, but they're finding ways to survive all that attrition and erosion on defense. Because that's the biggest question was, can the Von Millers or the Greg Rousseaus, can they, like, in their 30s, like, make up for the fact that, like, they've been hollowed out by injury? So far they have.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't think you can really have a reckoning of Super Bowl favorites right now and not mention them. I would take the Chiefs over them, but yeah, I don't think there's anyone else I would particularly take. I mean, maybe I would take the Ravens over them. We'll see after this game, maybe. So big, tie-breaking type game for playoff seeding, that kind of thing. I mean, the Ravens are 1-2, but I think we think the Ravens are pretty good. I disrespected them last week against Dallas. I'm not making that mistake again as far as the Cowboys go. So the Ravens are a 2.5 point favorite as a 1-2 team against the 3-0 Bills. What do you think?
Yeah, this is very difficult. I had it at 3. I ended up giving, so I'm going to go with Baltimore. Again, very difficult. I just feel like, again, a kicking game. These teams are so close that I believe that just like when things even out, that I'll take like the home team. I really believe that matters with the kicking. So,
yeah, me too. I'm gonna say probably the Bills are being a little overvalued by the kind of way they smacked down the last two opponents who were obviously compromised, and usually it bounces back at some point. And they are kind of really torn up on defense, and no one's really there's a world where Jacksonville doesn't come in and play man with like none of their corners. It just seems dumb.
Right. Yeah,
like it just seemed like a bad game plan. So I think Buffalo's really good, but yeah, it feels like the natural order of things is somehow to keep it all tight in the AFC. I don't feel strongly about it, but I'm on the same side as you. 2 Monday night games again. How'd that first double Monday night go for you? Did you love that?
Whew, that was wonderful. I mean, I was fighting to see which game I was going to put on. It was difficult.
I mean, when you have to do my job, it's just annoying. Could you just put on one? Because that would be great. But whatever, people, I guess people like it. I don't know. I'm going to stop complaining about it. The Titans are visiting the Tua-free Dolphins. I recall this game from last year. I believe it happened in Tennessee, and I believe that maybe the Titans wore the Oiler powder blues, and it was like the one good game we've ever seen out of Mr. Mayo. So of course that's going to happen again. I assume we're going to get Will Levis is going to play great, right?
Yeah, like 11 completions for 900 yards, whatever that was. That was wonderful. Yeah. He is amazing, though. Let's be honest. Like, there is a new screenshot every week of just him in positions that don't exist. Like, is that a trash can? What is he doing out there? Like, it's incredible the stuff he does on the field.
Dave does the silliest thing video, which we all love. And by the way, can we all get some love in the chat for Ghosterson? Have you watched that video yet this week? Oh my God. The visualization of Ghosterson made me spit something on my computer monitor. It was not great. Very great. And then also in the silliest thing, we get a different Will Levis head clutch.
Right?
He's got just I can't believe I did that. What am I? Oh my God. And he's from Newton, Massachusetts. He's from the town over from me. So I can kind of relate. I can relate.
I get it. I like
it. Invader Coda says no more turkey mayo. We have coffee mayo now.
Yes.
So the line here is somehow the Dolphins without Tua looking like they looked against Seattle. Not even sight unseen with the quarterback. I guess they're floating that it's probably going to be Tyler Huntley, but we don't really know that as of our recording this. The Dolphins are favored by 1 point in this game, which really says something about the Titans.
It says a lot. It really does. It really does. With regards, like this was difficult for me, but in the end, I ended up going with, again, which I thought was the best unit in the field, which is Tennessee defense. So I'm going to take the points. And it's strange, but I just think, like, there's a world where this is like literally maybe 3 points total, maybe.
Yeah, well, you're taking the 1 point. Yeah. Is it 1 point? What is that?
It is 1 point.
It is.
Miami's giving a point, so it's essentially a pick. I just feel like Will Levis in Miami is I thought it can't go wrong. So
I need a ruling from Dave because I had this one as a push also. I called the line to be Miami -1. Dave, in my ear, am I allowed to say 3 pushes for the week? Yes or no? All right, Dave says yes. Dave says yes.
You should have heard the dramatic pause. I just want to be clear.
It was a long pause. Jim says, I loved the Ghost. Jim says that he loved the Ghost. It's a different Jim. Yeah. And he said he loved the Ghost. So me too. Last game is the actual Monday night game, the good one, we think. Seattle coming to the Piper household for crumpets and tea before they visit the Detroit Lions. And Seattle is undefeated. Seattle. How?
That's good. I don't know. I dropped an earbud, but what I will say is it's back in my ear.
I asked you how is Seattle undefeated? How?
It's a good question. We're still trying to figure that out. And I have a lot of shares of the what is happening in Seattle company. We have an investigation going on. No, but seriously, I had the over for Seattle all season. I'm a Seattle guy, so I can't share my intel. But what's happening with Seattle, I've said it before, was their defense is talented. I really like their defense. I think Geno Smith's still Geno Smith, though, is the problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I agree with Kenny. I mean, Bob. Sorry, Bob. I agree with Bob. Seattle hasn't played anyone so far.
They haven't.
But they're doing what they have to do. I mean, week one, we didn't know that Bo Nix was going to be like that, right? So at the moment, I thought that's not a bad win, and now you go, oh, okay, that wasn't anything. And then it's New England. Frankly, they should lose that game, and the Patriots get a field goal blocked, or else they probably do lose that game. And then last week they get Skylar Thompson. So that's the answer, probably. Even though, they have they're. I liked the to make playoffs bet this summer. Like, they have a baseline competency that and just sort of high skill talent that I do believe in. It's just then you play against the Lions where everything that you kind of do, I can convince myself that I believe in that with Seattle. I look at Detroit and I go, yeah, but I like what they have more.
They do it all better. Right.
Yeah.
That's vexing. My thing is, I actually think their corners are going to give this Detroit passing game a problem. But then wait, Detroit runs really well. I'm going to stop talking. What are you going to do?
I mean, here's the thing. Undersold. Jared Goff. Sneaky terrible this year so far.
Sneaky terrible. Very terrible. Like, my dome theory has been shattered.
It's been shattered.
It's been shattered because all the guy does is play in domes and just throwing it up the floor. He's going to hit the dome. It's terrible.
Yeah. He has been sneaky terrible. I admit it. This line is Lions at home -3.5. That feels like, well, I guess it feels like some respect for Seattle, probably mostly for the defense, and then maybe also like a pump the brakes a little on the Lions. The Lions came around last week, but it was a rough coming around.
It is. I do think there's a reckoning here for Geno, though, and particularly with like the edge rush with Detroit. So all that said, I am giving the points because I had this at 4. So
I had it at 4 also. I'm also on the Lions. What is your? Let's take 2 best bets. What are one of them 2 that you like?
Sure. One of them is the Bengals, which is ridiculous, but I love it.
Okay.
It's the inverse of Dalton revenge, and the other one, I know it sounds crazy because we've laughed about it, but it is the Steelers. I just think that pass rush is too crazy.
So the Steelers -1.5 in Indy.
Yes.
So 2 road favorites for Jim. That never goes wrong.
That never goes wrong. It hasn't
goes wrong. And I'm going to say Jags. Nobody wants to be on the Jags at 6.5, but I just
it's a lot. Yeah.
Like, it's too many points, and like, I don't see how Jacksonville gets punished and Houston doesn't. In terms of
who doesn't want to save Doug Peterson's life? I mean, he's lovable. So
loved by you. You love him. Not so much me, Patriot fan. And then I'm going to say Minnesota. On a neutral field, even with Jordan Love playing, who's a better team?
That's close enough for me. It's close. I still think it's the Packers, but it's close.
Okay, I might think it's the Bengals. I mean, the Vikings.
Flores
to be honest,
is incredible. Yeah, he's a great coach. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. Darnold, I guess, has a back thing, and maybe he just turns into Darnold again, and then I wind up looking really stupid. But that's what I'm looking for. But you guys in the chat and everybody watching afterwards, what do you think? Let us know in the comments or in the chat your favorite bet of the week. We'll call someone out and say great job to you before we do the week 5 thing. I want to thank DraftKings for continuing to sponsor us despite our silliness. And if you want to use that code HarrisTube when you sign up at DraftKings, it does help us a little bit. We would appreciate that very much. I want to thank Dave for being an awesome producer, and also for Ghosterson. Oh my God. I just laughed so hard. If you haven't watched The Silliest Thing, please do. And I want to thank Jim McCormick for being Jim McCormick and funny and awesome. And I am Chris, and I am somewhat less awesome and somewhat less funny, but by golly,